Hey there, welcome back to the Mold Safe Home Build channel. This is going to be my first vlog style video where I just update you guys on where we're at with the progress of building our mold safe home. So just to give you guys a little bit of the backstory, because we've been working on this for a while. We've been living RV life and we've been doing that since June, and it's now January, almost February 2026. So we've been doing full-time RV life now for 7 months. We did that with the intention of finding the right lot for us. We knew that we didn't want to build in the location where we owned our last home, and so we knew that we needed to be able to travel around to find the right lot for us. So while we were looking for a lot, we were also looking for the right architect who would be able to help us design a home built with a mass wall system. And I know I haven't explained that on this channel yet, but it's basically building with blocks. It's basically a masonry style build where the walls are solid. And so we originally thought that we were going to be doing that with Fazwall, which is a woodcrete product that is manufactured in the US. And we ultimately decided against that, and I'll get into why in another video. But in the process of looking for an architect who was experienced with designing with mass wall systems, we ended up finding one who had a good bit of experience with designing with Fazwall. So we started working with that designer to make preliminary plans of what we thought our dream house would be, not knowing yet anything about affordability of that plan set or if it would really work out for us to be able to build that. And so we were working on that kind of concurrently at the time that we found our lot. And so we found our lot in October. Sorry, we found it in September, and we ended up closing on it October 20th. And so from there, we were still just in the early phases of having found this architect, and we continued to have him help us build out these plans because it did seem like they would work with the lot that we found. And so we went back and forth with a bunch of iterations with him over the course of the next few months, and actually we're still in that process now. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is the holidays were in there, and so, it was really hard to get a lot done for a good solid month there because the architect or we were not available for periods of time. The other reason is because it seems like we are probably going to need to simplify the build that we wanted to build, because we really want this build to be very affordable, even on just one of our incomes, because we've learned a lot over the last number of years that if something happens to one person in the relationship, you really don't want your financial stability to be based on there needing to be two incomes, right? Because basically when I got super sick twice in our first 7 years of marriage from toxic mold exposure, it made it really hard for me to work. My businesses just practically closed, and I had very little income coming in. And so our goal with this build is to keep it so that even on one person's income, the mortgage and our other living expenses would be really affordable. I know in today's day and age that might seem kind of impossible, because it seems like inflation and housing and everything have gotten so expensive that you really need two earners to make it work. But that's the goal. We'll see what ends up happening. So all throughout the fall, we were also interviewing builders in the area. Pretty much as soon as we realized we want to build in this area, we started interviewing general contractors to see if they thought that they might be able to work with us to do this very unconventional style of build, and also what they thought their general rates would be for helping us with the build. And that was a really eye-opening process. I should probably make a video just about that. But we learned very quickly that what builders are charging is all over the map these days. And so you really should shop around. And in addition to that, they have very different reactions to building something unconventional. Some of them were like, oh, that's so cool. I love that. I would love to be involved in that. And others were like, Yeah, that's going to require me to do a bunch more research and self-education, and I'm going to have to charge you for that. And anytime you're doing anything unconventional, like, you should just plan on paying like at least 1.5 times the rate of a stick-built home. And so they just came out of the gate, some of them with these huge markups, just because we were going to be building with a mass wall system, even though mass wall systems are actually usually easier and less labor intensive. They don't have all these many layers to them that require all different kinds of subcontractors. Anyways, to us, it didn't make sense, and it just really showed us that some of these builders just really had no experience with mass wall systems and probably were not the right fit for us. So we ended up finding a builder who seemed like a really great fit in like mid-December. And this builder was really interested actually in working with alternative systems. He had built with ICF before, which is sort of a type of mass wall system, not the one we're using, but he had some experience with that. He also had many years of experience as a mold remediator, and so he completely understood why we were trying to build a mold safe home and was really supportive of that. Some of the other builders we talked to, like, they had no personal interest or investment in it. It's not like they had never heard of mold growth in homes. They just, you know, it just wasn't their thing, right? This guy was like, yeah, I completely understand that. I've seen families totally devastated by mold. I'd love to help you guys accomplish that. So we found that guy, but then the holidays happened, and ever since then, we've been trying to get him to get us a bid on our initial plan set. The initial drawing we got from the architect that showed just basic things about the build, the floor plan, the size of the walls, the general concept for the roof, all that kind of stuff. These were not the finalized plans. And I actually didn't know before we started working with an architect that there were multiple levels of plans, but now it makes sense because we needed to get a financial feasibility of the plans before we actually paid the big bucks to get the plans finalized, right? So the preliminary plans, I think so far have cost us about $1,800. That's partly because we went back and forth with a number of revisions. They were supposed to cost about $1,200, but we ended up making changes. So just last weekend, which was around January 22nd, we finally got the bid from the builder, and it came in a little higher than we were hoping for. I would say probably about $100,000 more than we were hoping for to keep within the budget that we want. And so we have on our own designed another floor plan that makes it simpler and smaller than it was before. And so we're now going to have to go back to the builder and ask for a new bid, a new estimate of what he thinks it will cost to build this simpler design. And then we'll see if he thinks that that is now within the budget range that we want it to be. Then we will move forward with the next steps. And the next steps are now get the architect to make finalized plans. I don't think we need to go the preliminary step at this point. If we have one already that we know is within budget, we'll just have the architect go straight to making finalized plans. And that takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So we're getting a little nervous now that we're really pushing our timeline. We really want to get started on this build in the beginning of the summer and have it completed before the snow starts, which can be end of October, beginning of November, where we're building. And so we'll see, fingers crossed, but we're going to have to start working a lot faster now. So wish us luck on that, and I will come back with another update when we have new news about how that is going. But as of right now, we're still just trying to get the design within our ideal budget, and then we can take the next steps. So I hope that this was helpful to you. I will see you in the next video.